So good morning, everyone. Thank you very much for attending to our Sharp Business Systems webinar series on cybersecurity. Thanks for attending our second session. This one is 15 ways to protect your business from a cyber attack. We will also be hosting 3 upcoming webinars and would like you to join us for those as well. So the third one, educating your end users on security awareness, will be September 24th at 11 a.m. The fourth one, IT security compliance, on September 29th at 11 a.m., which I'll be presenting. And the fifth one, rethinking your office footprint, October 1st at 11 a.m. So hopefully you can join us for those also. During the presentation, feel free to ask any questions and we'll discuss at the end. You can type them into the question box on potentially your right. And presenting today, I'd like to introduce Nicholas Dreyfus, Director of Network Services for Sharp Business Systems in Southern California. Nick, take it away.
Thank you, sir. All right, thanks again for attending, everyone. First and foremost, we here at Sharp hope everyone is staying healthy and safe during these trying times. We do truly appreciate you taking the time out of your busy schedules to join us for these extensive IT discussions, and this particular one including the 15 ways to protect your business. So first up, we want to, obviously, my name is Nick Dreyfus, Director for IT Services, Southern California. There's my email address and my phone number. So during this presentation or anytime after, you can write down my email, give me a phone call. That is my personal and work cell. You can text me, call me, email me. I'd be happy to answer any and all questions. Number one, we do have a handout in the handouts tab. So make sure you open that one up. We're gonna be giving you guys the opportunity to follow along and actually fill out that handout during the presentation. We will take questions at the end, much like Mark just stated, so please, you can even type them in now, right? We'll take them at the very end. So first up, we all know you've seen these numbers continually grow over the years, but I'd like to point out just a couple of these key figures which were posted pre-COVID. These studies are still being conducted and these figures are growing at a greater rate than ever before. Right, number one is that 7 out of 10. 7 out of 10 businesses are still today not prepared to respond to a cyber attack. The one just to the right of that in gray, 6 trillion. That's going to be the global cost of cybercrime damages annually by 2021. That's in just a few months. So, with all the marketing material out there, it can be too much information to properly digest. During this presentation, we're going to give you a synopsis of all that data that you've been reading and trying to catch up on. What does it all mean? Well, it appears that the future of work may look more like this than what we've grown accustomed to, which means new security risks have surfaced, which we have never experienced in any time before. It is far easier to protect a network which is centrally managed than one from many locations where the network can be compromised with no to little commercial infrastructure like firewalls. Now let's start by taking a look at some of the common challenges associated with that remote workforce. First and foremost, the sharing of information and teamwork is now more important and also more difficult than ever since we are all separated by more than just geography these days. Same goes for our need to efficiently process our current workflows and ensure compliance standards. Managing to standards is demanding during any situation, but can become increasingly more complex with a remote workforce. Which leads us directly to maintaining productivity and, of course, controlling those costs. You can't manage what you can't measure, and without the proper systems and consistency, it's very difficult to keep up with the increasing demand of our workforce and those customers. Most important of all, we can't overlook the need to protect our organizations from the growing cyber threats that can come at any time. Hackers and cyber criminals are definitely not waiting for the vaccine to send us all back to the office. In fact, they're doing just the opposite and working diligently to take advantage of the remote workforce accessibility and the bring your own device environments that exist today that can make any network vulnerable. Now, again, this is that handout that you should see in the handouts tab of the presentation today. Take that out, and while following along to the 15 ways, we want you to check the boxes of the items that your business does today and put a big circle around anywhere, any of the boxes that your business is not doing today or you kind of have some questions on. We will have a scorecard at the very end, so keep this sheet up to date as we learn about the 15 different ways. Where does your business rate overall? With this helpful 15 ways guide, you can quickly evaluate your current status and understand what the business needs to do to increase your security posture. Now, the first 4 of the 9 ways are core. These are labeled in green, and for any business with at least to start with, right? We want you to start with these particular 4 green ones. These are typically low-cost solutions to maintain and deploy. The next 5 ways are labeled in blue. They're also important, but as a secondary to the previous 4 core ways to protect. First off, security assessment. It's important just to have a baseline and close those existing vulnerabilities. When was your last assessment? Passwords. Simply applying security policies on your network. Examples would be limiting USB file storage access and making sure those passwords are enhanced is key for keeping your security high. Encryption. Whenever possible, the goal is to encrypt all files, especially at rest, in motion, thinking of those emails, and especially on the backups themselves. Computer updates. Keeping Microsoft and Office and many third-party software programs updated for better security is vital. Doing this on an automation level with protection of the computers, that's the way to protect yourself from those attacks. Next up is multi-factor authentication. Utilizing MFA wherever you can is going to help protect the business. Include on your network, banking websites, and even social media. SIM log management. This is where it gets a little heavy. We're talking about the security incident and event management. We're using big data engines here to then look at all the data and see if it can detect if something is sitting on your network that shouldn't be there. This will help meet your business with many compliances. Web gateway security. Internet security is a race against time. Cloud-based security detects web and email threats as they emerge on the internet and blocks them on your network within seconds before they even reach your end users. Mobile device security. Today's cyber criminals attempt to steal your data and access your network by way of your employees' phones and tablets. They're counting on you to neglect this piece to the puzzle. Mobile device security closes this gap. And finally, cyber insurance. If all else fails, protect your income and your business with cyber damage and recovery insurance policies. Now, did you know we only see about 4% of the actual internet? The deep and dark web comprise of the rest. Dark web monitoring can alert your business to security breaches and allow your team to make password and site updates accordingly. It will also allow you to see any breaches which may have happened previous to your team getting time online, giving you time to act. Only dark web monitoring can detect this. Next up is the spam email filter. This is a top 5 category needed to improve cybersecurity. Most attacks originate in your email, so be sure to choose a service that's designed to reduce the spam and your exposure to attacks. Adding a spam filter is an easy and most of the time cost-effective way to reduce those potential risks to phishing email attacks and other related security issues. This can be configured over time to reduce the spam, but make sure that those important emails are still coming through. Security awareness training. Again, a top 5 category needed to improve cybersecurity. There's 2 main forms, right? First one, these are going to be formal presentations, much like what you're reviewing today, but far more in depth and typically have a component where people are sitting around a table and having a discussion. They can last 1 to 16 hours over a week, maybe a weekend. We've all been through them. Not exactly the funnest. Next up is a monthly email phishing testing. This is where a third-party company sends all employees a fake email to test their aptitude for discovering potential malicious emails if clicked on, and not only generates a report for the business, but then sends the user to a website with a short video of what they missed and what to look for that type of email in the future. This not only rewards your best employees because they're not going to ever need to do additional time training and sitting in webinars, security presentations, but allows the business to then focus on the users who need the most help. Advanced endpoint and detection and response. This again is another top 5 category needed to improve your cybersecurity. What we're doing here is protecting your computer's data from malware, viruses, and cyber attacks with advanced endpoint security. Today's latest technology, which enhances your antivirus solution, protects against fileless and script-based threats and can even roll back on a ransomware attack. Much like 10 and 15 years ago, we would never deploy a network without at least a firewall and some antivirus. Advanced endpoint detection and response is the new firewall and antivirus. This must be deployed on a network to truly have effective cybersecurity posture. Even top NIST performing businesses can still be infiltrated, and having a top-tier cybersecurity solution, look for malicious threats that can be the difference between one computer getting compromised and the entire network. The entire network gets impacted. That is a huge ouch and not a fun day for anybody. Sometimes weak. Next up, the firewall. Again, a top 5 category needed to improve cybersecurity. And the bottom right-hand corner, that picture depicts exactly what the firewall's doing. Its job is to only allow, as much as we can, the green ones and zeros from getting through, the ones that the business needs to compute. Those red ones and zeros, it's telling at the firewall level before it even touches any of the network, do not come through. It's closing all those ports and all those data packets from entering the network. This is by turning on intrusion detection and intrusion prevention features, sending those log files to that managed SIEM as we referenced earlier using big data. Is your firewall up to date? Do you have content monitoring and filtering even turned on? Is it old? Have you purchased the latest content monitoring and filtering plan? The firewall is the business's first line of defense, and this device should be a top priority to not only have up to date, but can handle the data traffic and VPN licenses your end users need, which is probably far more now with everybody working from remote. Finally, by far the most important of the 15 ways. Business continuity is where your recovery time objective, your RTO, is the time needed to get back up and running from a server outage or disaster is equal to the backup disaster and recovery time, or BDR, for the business. The 3 most important things: local backup, the offsite backup, and testing the backups regularly. The 3rd thing there, testing the backups regularly, that is the #1 thing that we see all the time that is not done properly. Checking a box and just verifying that the backup ran is not testing your backups. Testing your backups literally means someone spins up a virtual machine of those backups to make sure that they're not corrupt. How quickly could your business recovery from a server failure or a disaster today? That is the key question for your recovery time objective. The 3-2-1 backup rule is best practice because it ensures that you'll have a copy of your data no matter what happens. Multiple copies prevent you from losing the only copy of your data, and then multiple locations ensure that there is no single point of failure and that your data is safe from disasters such as fires and floods. A recent FEMA report estimates that 40 to 60% of small to mid-sized businesses won't survive a data calamity. Again, they will not survive a data calamity, yet business continuity is often pushed to the back burner by competing priorities and financial constraints. Finally, we're at the part of the presentation where we have your scorecard. So if you've been following along, this is where I want you to focus your core information on. Those first 3, right? Number 1, number 2, number 3, you're in red. Number 1, a score of 0. We definitely need to start today and add as many as possible. As mentioned previously in the presentation, many of these can be deployed at little to no cost. A score of 1 to 3. Determine what the next steps are on moving your business into a better security position. Again, you still probably have quite a few that you can deploy at little to no cost, but increase your security posture. Next, number 3, 4 to 6. Are there any remaining items that are critical? Those are what you should attack first, then go after any remaining. A score of 7 to 10. You're finally out of the red, but you're still in yellow, right? That would mean that you still have quite a few categories that you want to attack moving forward. Can your company add more security and become a leader in cybersecurity plan for the business, protecting you as best possible? Finally, a score of 11-15. Clearly, this is where can the remaining solutions be deployed for a reasonable cost? You're obviously a leader in cybersecurity at this point. Very few number of businesses have this many, so it is time for all of us as a whole to take that next step into the cybersecurity posture. Now we're at the question and answer section. So if you haven't already, submit a question. Looks like we have a couple here. Submit a question. I'll give everybody a few minutes. But again, my name is Nick Dreyfus, Sharp Business Systems, Director of Network Services, Southern California. There's again my email and phone number. And please ask any and all questions that you have. Do we have any questions, Mark or Karina? We're just gonna.
I don't see any on the. Do you see anything on your end, Mark?
Yeah, the one question that came up was, can you maybe elaborate on, the latest types of endpoint protection? We've had antivirus for a long time, antivirus signatures. What's the latest and greatest in layered security?
Great question. So what we're finding now is deploying, as we mentioned earlier, the advanced endpoint detection and response tools. Again, this is a layover on top of your antivirus and improves the firewall. What these solutions do is it's another agent that will sit on your computer, and it's actually looking for malicious threat vectors. It's also looking for an account that's sitting on your computer, on your server stack, where the privileges, meaning a user goes from just a regular user to an elevated admin user overnight. This is where your team then looks into who made that change. Was it us, right? Did we need to make that change for a particular user? Can we move them back down tomorrow because they just needed to add a program and that program needed them to be an administrator for a few hours to put the application on? This allows us to then take those next steps and look for those malicious threat vectors to then be able to analyze and see them before they happen. The average ransomware, the average malicious threat vector sits on a network for over 100 days. So if we're catching these in the first 24 to 48 hours, which is exactly what a solution like a SentinelOne does, we're able to mitigate your threats long before the ransomware ever gets launched on your computer system. And again, managing and maintaining those so it doesn't include affecting all your computers, it may just hit one. And the cost difference of hitting one computer versus the entire network, and then of course your backups, hugely beneficial. Great question. Any other questions?
There was another question that came up here. What's the difference in the new firewalls, or I don't even think they're called firewalls anymore. What do they call it? Security appliances. So if I've got like a firewall, it's a couple years old, what's the reason I should upgrade?
Good question. So firewalls have obviously evolved over the years. A firewall's main job before was literally just opening and closing ports. I like to tell people that it's like a cruise ship where you have a whole bunch of holes on the outside of the cruise ship. What the firewall's job is to just close all the ports that your employees, your staff doesn't need access to. There's roughly 16,000 ports on a network. So the more you can close, you're reducing the potential chance for information to get through. Now with new advanced gateway detection deployment solutions, what those are doing today is they're actually looking at the information that's coming through and looking to see, even on the open ports that your company needs open, it's looking at that data and still looking for malicious threat vectors that are coming through. So that's the main difference. Before it was just opening or closing and some moderate content monitoring and filtering, to now it's looking for malicious threat vectors on those open ports that the business does need open. So great question. Any other questions?
I don't see any more coming up right now.
Great. Well, thanks again, everybody. We really appreciate your time today. It's been fun. Please let Mark or I know if you have any questions, comments. don't hesitate to give us a phone call if you have any other questions, anything else you want to go over. And again, those security assessments are vital, and we are doing security assessments for businesses right now at little to no cost. So please let us know if you need anything. We're always here for you. And thanks again for attending, and don't forget about our future series. Thanks again. Have a great day, everybody.